Welcome back to another episode of the Buffalo Happy Hour. Mike, what's going on?
Derek, we're back at our friends Addie's Wine and Liquor, so I'm excited about that. But we have a fun guest, and there's a lot of stuff that we have to dive into. So we should start with introductions, and then we got a full ballot of things to dive into. So, what's up, man?
How you doing? Thanks for having me. My name's Jason, just so the people listening know who I am.
I like it. So, let's start at the very beginning. So,
Oh, great. I was born.
yes.
All right. You
you
wanted me to
saw the
skip
light.
forward?
You saw the
Okay,
light.
I can skip forward a little.
A little bit.
Okay, 18. I joined the military.
Perfect.
Okay.
So, were you born and raised in Buffalo?
Yes. So I was born and raised in Buffalo. Single mom. You know, she worked at an animal hospital, and I ended up working at that animal hospital, going to high school across the street at Hutch Tech. So there's a ton of people from Buffalo that, went to Hutch Tech. And then quickly realized that my SAT scores were probably not going to be good enough to go anywhere. So I joined the military. I originally joined the Air Force. I took the ASVAB, and they could not promise me law enforcement. And then this Army dude stuck his head out the door and said, "You took your ASVAB?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "I don't know what I scored." He goes, "Well, I can tell you." And he looked up my scores, and he's like, "Well, what did you join the Air Force for?" I go, "Well, I wanted to be a law enforcement, but they can't guarantee me." Because they used to have two tracks. They used to have the law enforcement side and security patrol, but they couldn't guarantee. It's just a crapshoot.
Okay.
He's like, "No, I can guarantee you an MP." I'm like, "Okay." I didn't want to be a Marine. I mean, I talk slower for those guys. No offense, I love Marines. Like, I was with 1st Marine Division in Fallujah. It's all good. I love you guys. Ben, if you're listening, I love you too. But I didn't want to join the Navy, which
Right.
my cousin's in the Naval Academy now. So unfortunately, we'll talk about him later because I'm definitely not going to salute him. I'm going to punch him first.
Good. Awesome.
So yeah, he's at the Naval Academy. I'm like, damn it. But then from there, I decided, well, okay, join the Army. So my mom probably saved a couple $100 in food a week. I was an only child, and I went to Fort McClellan, Alabama, and I went to basic training there. I arrived there on Halloween night, 1989. Got off the bus, and I remember at that time you had to do 13 push-ups to get into basic training, or they sent you to FTC, which officially is fitness training camp, but we used to call it fat training camp. That's where they make you skinny, and then you can move on. So I did my 13 push-ups. I was really, really nervous because they would start counting. I mean, I'm sure you've seen drill sergeants. 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2. Meanwhile, you're up to like 30 and they're on 4, So I'm like, oh, that dude just did like 100 push-ups and they counted 12. He's going to fat training camp and he's smaller than me. Like, this is not going to be good. So women had to do one correct push-up.
Did they do like the fist underneath the body?
that's police shit.
No.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's
Funny thing,
that's a
police,
cheap
because I went to one of those too. We'll get to that, and they had a piece of foam. I'm like, what is this crap? Like, so I can bounce off the floor. Anyhow,
Yeah.
all right, moving on.
Like they do with the bench press. Where you
Yeah,
bounce off the
yeah,
chest.
exactly. Like, oh, I'm gonna smack my face on the floor and
Right.
bounce back up. I don't know. They had to do one, so I made it. I did OSUT. OSUT is one-stop unit training. I went right through basic training and went all the way through to MP school. Funny story. I had started with 3 drill sergeants. One of them PCS, which meant that they moved, and they went to Korea. Another drill sergeant got booted off the trail for I don't know what, but we were left with one. And if anybody knows how the military works, we're drill sergeants. They usually have an early man and a late man, and they switch off, and they do a lot of stuff. Well, when you don't have somebody to swap off with, you're stuck with the privates for 24/7 pretty much, except for the time they're sleeping, which isn't a whole lot. So he really, really hated us because we were there all the time with him, and he had nobody to give us to except for on Sunday. We got to go to church, and
Right.
Everybody found God during basic. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. My first time away from home, my mom came down to Fort McClellan for graduation, and that was my introduction to law enforcement. And I went to Germany for 2 years, and that is where I know there's going to be some people that love beer and love everything, but beer wasn't always the way it is now, where you got all these little breweries and everything. In Germany, though, that's how it was. It's been like that forever. Like, we're so far behind the times. Like, every little city had their own brewery, and we just had that. Well, that's where I learned to dislike beer. I didn't like German beer, so I started drinking whiskey over there. So yeah, you're 18 years old, you're legal in Germany, and you just drink.
Many nights in Nuremberg.
Yeah. So I was in Fischbach, and we had this beer called the Perminator. It was out of Pirmasens. And when you get out of basic training, obviously you're not drinking for the 9 weeks you're in basic training, and then OSUT, you get some passes you might be able to drink, but you got out of practice from high school. So when you get over there, their beers were like 8.2%. So you got,
some thick boys.
Well, you get some Private Joe Smith coming from Alabama that thinks he can slam like a 24-pack of Budweiser, and he cracks into like 4 Perminators. So we used to call him Perminator the Terminator, because as soon as they got there, we're like, here, have a beer. And they're like, and then the next thing they're on the floor and like, hey, welcome, new guy. And we used to call him, you can swear, right?
Yeah.
Okay, noofs. We used to call him noofs, new useless fucks. So, so that was Germany. I was there for 2 years.
Did you show up a private and leave a private, or
no? Wow, you're asking good questions now, because you do know I'm a sergeant major, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I should be, so that's an E9,
right?
Like I should be an E11.
I was gonna say, 11 to 14.
Well, yeah. So, were you military at all?
Not at all.
Okay.
So I fit in real well with this conversation.
So
I
E9,
do accounting, so I'm really good with Excel.
So he can explain a sergeant major. So in layman's terms, you want to explain a sergeant major?
It's the guy you never want to see or deal with, you're terrified of, but he's the highest enlisting rank that is achievable in the Army. So on the enlisted side, not an officer unlike those nerds, but basically he's in charge of your boss's 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 boss.
Boss.
Yeah.
So in corporate life, like the CEO?
Yeah. He walks around and yells at you to get off his grass, but then literally would dictate, hey, we have to do A through F, and then I'm going to give you an order, and then make sure the lowest guy can understand what we have to do.
Gotcha.
And then it'll just go down the chain. But
there's only 1% of us in the Army.
Yeah. So
out of the Army makes up 2% of the U.S. population, roughly. Mm-hmm. So, and that's a very large 2%. So don't ask me if I know like Brian Smith out of Utah from First Division, because I don't. But it's very large, but it's at the same time it's 2%.
Small.
It's small, and then within that, not everybody makes it to sergeant major. It's something that when I joined, when I was a private, that was my goal. Like I want to be.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, I'm like I'm gonna make sergeant major. Like that's me.
So how does somebody make that?
Time.
Yeah, okay. Time and a lot of education, a lot of schooling. Like you never stop learning. Like I literally like. You're always having to do something. There's schooling, there's boards, there's just evaluations, there's just everything that goes into it. So when you said, did I go there as a private, leave as a private? I got there as a private. I made it to E4, and then
there's one night.
Well, there was 2. So yes, I got a little trouble. I went from E3 to E2, and then I went back to E3, and then back to E2, and then I made E4, and then E5, and then I was good then. And then I went to Kentucky, which, as you all know, is the Bourbon Trail. Mm-hmm. I was stationed at Fort Knox, and there I worked narcotics.
Okay.
So that was a fun experience. Thank God there was no social media, because I already felt like there was a target on my back. Blah blah blah. Everywhere we went, but we had a lot of fun. We had a really close knit team, and we did a lot of fun stuff. And but I think back now and how much I terrified my mother on all around, because as I tell you this whole story, all right, so I left home, went in the military, and what do I become? A cop, military police. And then, I go away to Germany, so I go to another country. Like, that's probably terrified her. But then I come home, and it's like, oh, he's back in the state. Oh, he's working undercover narcotics. Like, oh, great. So then I was like, all right, my time's almost up. I enlisted for 4 years. I'm like, I'm probably going to get out, go to college, figure out, what I can do now. And I took college classes while I was in the Army, stuff like that, what you can do. And then I came home, and I went to Buff State, and I worked in some of the bars, which is funny because the people that I worked with now, as I'm selling 13 Monkeys now, they own bars. So it's like they were like bartenders and this. So it's like this whole progression thing. They basically made Sergeant Major of the bar business, or officers. Some of them are nerds. Yeah, I guess, right. Whatever. So then I became a drill sergeant. So I went to drill sergeant school, and at drill sergeant school is when I met Christopher Dill. For drill sergeant school, this is way before I was a sergeant major. I was a E5. Yeah, E5 I went when I was, I was a E5, I became a drill sergeant. So me and Chris, 36 of us went to school. Only 6 of us graduated. Like, the attrition rate is like phenomenal. It's either fitness or mental. Like,
Gotcha.
There's a lot of, regurgitation and memorization and, next move will now name, explain, have demonstrated, new conduct practical work on is a position of attention. Position of attention is a 2-part command when preceded by a preparatory command, such as platoon, squad, or demonstrator post, and like keep going. And you got to do that in front of like your instructors, and then you get two times you can make a mistake, and when you do them, you have to say as you were. So that's our thing of as you were. Like, I didn't mess up, just as you were. Carry on. Whatever.
Your fault, my mistake.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you do that. So as soon as you make a mistake and you say as you were, you're screwed because you only have one left, and then that's all you're concentrating on. Oh crap! I only got one more. Like, what? And then you immediately make another mistake, and then you're like, and then you basically you got to do more stuff. So it was a pain. But yeah, so me and Chris, that's when I thought I met Chris, and what I mean by that is I'll tell you it'll come full circle, but that's when I thought I met Chris. And we instantly became friends. So it was me, him, and 4 other dudes that graduated. He had his wedding. He became a police officer or a firefighter. I became a police officer around the same time. We used to go to the Bandits games when, they were in the championships and all that stuff. And we had season tickets for that. And we'd play PlayStation, Madden, on Super Bowl Sunday. Like, we would lead up to that. We'd play Mutant League football, which I just found out recently they have a new version of it on PlayStation, and it's phenomenal. It's the greatest game ever. Just like Madden, only you can kill people and blow things up and throw the bomb, and it's literally a bomb, and it's all like aliens and mutants. It's great. So check it out. There's a free plug for Mutant League football. So then, we were drill sergeants at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and Fort Knox, Kentucky. And we did that and pushed through a lot of privates and went basically that was our life. We basically had our social lives at home. He was getting married, all this stuff. Our careers were taking off, everything like that. Then
Are you active still at this point, or are you guard?
Reserves. So I joined the reserves, okay. Yeah. So we got out. I went to Buff State, going to school and still wanted to do stuff with the military, so we did that. And, I know people say like reserves, but we would go down for like the whole summer. So we'd go down and do whole iterations,
right, yeah.
And just go, get privates, pick them up. Shark Attack, which I found out they just got rid of, which is like, listen, so far the Army's gotten rid of, and this is me as a sergeant major. I really don't care. Let the DOD come take your podcast down. But you can't throw a grenade anymore because they found out that it would save money and basically nobody could throw. Like, well, they're not able to throw because you're not allowing to do PT because you don't have to pass PT now to graduate.
That's insane.
It's a 2-pound weight. Like, grow up.
Yeah,
and
it's going to explode if you don't throw it. So that motivates you to throw it as far as you can.
Did Benning remove it too?
From what it's out. But yet, I think they still keep the bayonet, which, when's the last time we used a bayonet in warfare? I don't know, but it's a motivational thing. I don't know, whatever. So, but it's like, come on, and now the whole PT, and now the Shark Attack, which is your introduction to the drill sergeant when you get off that bus.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, and you get off the bus, and I'm just going to yell at you and make you find everything in your bag to make sure that you have everything so you can have a successful basic training experience. So I don't want you missing anything.
So you get off the bus, they're this close to your face, screaming at you. The brim of their hat has sweat dripping off onto you, #COVID, and then they literally dump your bag. After we
inventory your belongings.
They grab your bag, they make a giant bag pyramid, and everyone has the same issued green duffel bag. Then they say, go find your bag.
Listen, though, I'll tell you what, my bag, though, and this whole...
Did you spray that thing for fleas?
No, my bag, so this is how it worked back then. Our bag had our social security number stenciled on the bag, which went all over the world. So, I mean, I should get free credit stuff for like life from the Army. Like, come on. So yeah, now they're blank.
Yeah, so Well, ours also had the same stencil. It was first initial, last name, and then your number.
Yeah,
which
ours had
is
our
your
whole social security.
So,
Yeah, the whole thing.
So
with
you're
dashes.
basically
Seems
you're getting
secure.
screamed at and smoked at the same time. So they're making you do excessive physical activity exercises.
We're conditioning your body.
Making you lose weight. If you didn't find your bag fast enough, which they give you 10 seconds, which is 1, 2, you're out of time. Then if you find your bag, they make you run to the other side of the sand pit. It's a football field that's full of sand. And then they dump your bag for the inventory. And then some other guy, like his best friend, comes over and then kicks your shit all over the place. And they're like, go find it. And you're just like, well, and then that's when you learn as a private, I have to physically write my name and last four
everything.
on the tags of every single piece of thing that I got from the Army. So I know that I don't have it because then later...
This is my boot. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
Because then later they'll flip your lockers upside down to the entire barracks.
I used to tie
then-
everybody's boots together when I destroyed their barracks. And I wouldn't tie yours together. I would tie yours with his, and I would tie two left. So it's funny, when they all got separated, there would be two privates going, Drill Sergeant, permission to speak. What, private? Drill Sergeant, I have two left boots. I'm like, really? Do you think somebody has two right boots? Go find them. I guarantee you're going to have a left and a right then.
You definitely should have joined. So yeah, so basically they took that fun away. And it was just a lot of
that's
stress
fun.
and for you. It was terrible for us. We couldn't sleep. But yeah, so that's what that is.
So, yeah. So they took that away, apparently. It's too stressful. I
Gotcha.
don't know.
I mean, it seems like a walk in the park for me, an outsider looking in. Real easy.
But, I mean, you will be going to Afghanistan or Iraq after that. You know, those aren't stressful
true.
at all.
Yeah,
So,
good
you know, okay. But
So
moving on.
So you do your trail iterations, come back up.
Yeah, and then,
in the reserves.
yeah, so then as I did that, you know, my mom was like, okay, he's not doing narcotics anymore. Well, I had to be at 12B, which was a combat engineer. So now I played with explosives and taught explosives. So my mom's like, and she never said anything. My mom was like, you know, all 5'4" of her and just, you know, strong woman. And yeah, she was like, okay, like this is another thing. So yeah, I taught explosives for combat engineers. And yeah, just kept moving forward. And then 9/11 obviously happened. And then in 2004, for Iraq, me and Chris and a bunch of others got mobilized to go to Iraq. And we went in iterations. He was 2 weeks ahead of me. So we went through the whole MOB process, the mobilization of getting us ready to go to Iraq. And then I was on a 10-man team. He was on a different 10-man team because, like I said, we were 2 weeks apart. But we ended up in November. Everything hovered around October, it seems like, in my military career, because I joined the Army in October. I went to Iraq in October. And Phantom Fury was happening in Fallujah. For those that remember, that's when they retook Fallujah after they ended up hanging a bunch of the contractors off of the bridge and everything like that. So he got to Fallujah 2 weeks before me, and he would just email me when he could, and he'd be like, this is the worst place on the planet right now. And I'm like, oh, well, we'll see where I'm going to go. So luck of the draw, I ended up in the same tent on a different team in Fallujah with him. And we used to stay outside of the Marine Corps base, which was Camp Fallujah, because we lived with the Iraqis. So we had a battalion. Each team had a battalion of Iraqis that we basically took, and we would look for Zakawi. That was like one of our things that we would do. And I always think now, like, my whole life would have changed if we would have found Zakawi. And we got really close. We got within like 3 miles of him because we were tracking him with cell phones and pings and everything else, and it was kind of cool that we got close, but yeah, we didn't get him. Then they dropped a 500-pound bomb on him, so I'm glad I wasn't anywhere near that. So that was a good thing. Shit works out. But so me and Chris, there's a thing what's known as the art of the drug deal in the military, where you want something and you can do the correct paperwork and you're probably not going to get it, or you can get it by other means, which is still a correct process because paperwork was still done, but you would just get it there. And it was basically who you know, people that can get things done, and just talking to the right people, because it's kind of like customer service. You could talk to somebody here at, whatever store, and they're going to be like, they're not going to find something because they just don't care. And then you're going to have the person, the exceptional employee, that's going to go above and beyond and be like, yeah, it's right over here, this aisle, blah, blah, blah. Here you go. And, oh, here's the customer service number. Let me know if you have any problem. Like, that's how you navigate in the military. And we kind of got really good at it. And we did a lot of stuff. But the biggest thing that we did was we convinced a colonel. Now I was at East 7 at the time. Chris was in East 6. That 2 people on Chris's team were not good, and we convinced them that they should trade me for those 2. And the other team was like, oh, we're going to get 2 people and get rid of Jaskula, because I came from a law enforcement background, and when you're clearing rooms and stuff and you got somebody that worked at like Walmart and is, a lieutenant telling you, well, you really shouldn't do that. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to die, and I'm not going to listen to you, so just stop talking to me. It created some friction. You should listen to people that, they have what we call in the military is a set skill. You're a SME, you're a subject matter expert on some things. You tend to listen to those people. Doesn't matter what their rank is. If a private told me, hey, Sergeant Major, I wouldn't do that because you're going to die because it's going to kill you if you touch those things together, I'm going to listen to him. I'm not going to say, oh, private, I got rank. Like, oh, no, like you probably know something. Like, okay, prove it. You touch him. Like, whatever. No, I'm not doing that. So we did, and I ended up on the same team as Chris. They got 2 people. Their team was a disaster from there on in, and our team was great. But it was me, Chris, and because we were both from Buffalo, and it was me, Chris, and 8 other people. So, we did stuff like we did back home, and we just did a ton of stuff. I replaced the guy, however, that mortar came in and hit that side of the tent. So I had his little area because he got to go to Lonsdale. He lived, but I laughed because all the electrical, it's all 220, and they don't have OSHA apparently, so everything's open, and the C4 and all the bullets were like right by that corner too, so that's where I slept. I'm like, well, they can't hit the same thing twice. Like, come on, like maybe they kicked the little mortar rounds. I don't know. So yeah, it worked out. So me and Chris, we basically we lived through that, and then we got out of Phantom Fury, and fast forward, we did a ton of combat operations going out. But on April 3rd, we went out and we did a mission about 6 hours away. And so round trip, 12-hour road trip that we took. And it's funny because when we tried leaving that morning, the gate guards, they were like, whatever, Army privates. Our uniforms were all scrubbed. Like, we had no rank on them. We had no nothing, no names, and no patches. And they're like, hey, you guys can't leave yet. I'm like, it's 6 a.m. Like, why can't we leave? Like, did the war stop? Like, what's going on? And they're like, well, no, they didn't sweep the road yet for IEDs. We're like, oh, okay, so you're just sweeping this road, like, up and down, right? And they're like, yeah. Like, are you going 6 hours away and sweeping the whole road, like, 6 hours away? He's like, no. I go, then I guess it doesn't matter if we leave now, does it? It's like, oh, that's a good point. I'm like, yeah, all right, bye. So we left. Another quick story, and one for the Marines. Go back to Fallujah. We were out in Fallujah doing a mission, and we got a radio comms that came over. So it's me and Chris, and we're walking around with our Iraqis, right? And we're just walking through Fallujah. And they're like, oh, you got to get back to base. And we're like, oh, that's like really cryptic. Like, okay, like, again, did the war stop? Like, what's going on? Like, no, get back to base. And we're like, all right. It's in November. So we get back to base. We're like, what the hell's going on? It's a Marine Corps birthday. They called everybody back so they can all get a beer from Budweiser. So they marked your hands with X when you got a beer. And then every Marine and every Army dude is just like spitting on their hand, like wiping off the X so they go get another beer. So, yeah. So, anyhow, that was that one. But on April 3rd, we went out. We did something. It was really nothing. We ended up going to this town, and we got some computers. We got a small weapons cache. Nothing. It was nothing huge. It was just whatever. There was really nobody there. It was kind of ghost town. It was kind of weird. And because we always knew that if there was kids and families around, like, we were pretty safe. But there was, like, nobody around. It was, like, ghost town, like, weird movie set, like, rolling into this thing, trucks on the side, like all this crazy things. And we went through and we got some stuff and we took it back with us. Well, the next day on April 4th, I had some stuff to do, and me and Chris, we built the Iraqis MWR, Morale, Recreation, Welfare in the Army. Like, they didn't have anything to do. And the Army always does stuff for us. Like, they give us, we got gyms, we got volleyball courts, we got golf courses, we got, like, there's tons of stuff to do on your downtime. So you're not just drinking, which most of us do anyhow. But there's a lot of stuff you can do. But the Iraqi Army really didn't have anything. So we built them a soccer field. I mean, most of those kids were born with soccer balls in their hands. Like, they were phenomenal. Like, we actually played, me and Chris did a drug deal, and we got 2 soccer nets. But, and this is the funny thing, we took them from the Army side and we brought them over to the Iraqi side because we didn't get to live inside the compound. We lived outside the compound. And we got flour from the DFAC, and we made the lines, and we did everything. And some major came over, and I'm going to be 7, like, Congress is the only one that could take my rank. Like, I don't care. So some major comes over and goes, those are ours. And I'm like, no, they're not. Like, they were Saddam's before we even got here. And I had a guy, and it's funny, an Iraqi soldier with my interpreter. He was a sergeant major in the old Iraqi Army. He actually had a hand receipt for those goals.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, he was like, I'm like, dude, this is perfect. I'm like, come here, Major. I'm like, hey, look at this. Like, no, these are ours. And so are those other ones. So we're going to let you use those ones. And then we played the Americans. We slaughtered them. We always used to say, oh, those are the Americans, because we really didn't fit in with the Army because we were always outcast living with the Iraqis. You know, like, aren't you afraid of living with them? I'm like, oh, they had plenty of chances to kill us, and they haven't so far. So, you know, I'm good. So, yeah, it was pretty funny. He had a hand receipt, though, for those.
So, for those listening, you said it was a drug deal to get the soccer nets, and you also stated that you did narcotics, not a literal drug deal.
No,
you're saying the Army term.
The Army term for drug deal. Yeah. So
for you, basically, it's you work something out.
We worked something out to go get them,
yeah,
and by go get them, we got them at midnight and a deuce and a half.
Yeah.
And brought them, but they were ours. Like, we did not steal them. Like, they were Saddam's Army's soccer nets, and we basically brought them back to the Iraqis so they can use them.
Commandeered.
Yeah.
That's all.
And it was something. So what happened on the 4th when I got up in the morning and I started dragging the field. I had to do some other stuff, but then I dragged the field. We had like a truck and, you know, some fencing, and we would just drag it, you know, and get it ready for the Iraqis. Well, I came back and went to lunch, and Chris was gone. And understand this, every time we went out on a mission, either I was driving and he was gunning, or I was gunning and he was driving. We only had 2 Up Arbor and Humvees, and the Iraqis rolled with all their Nissans and Toyotas with the PKCs, their machine guns in the back. And that's how we rolled out. So when I came back, I was like, oh, where's Chris? And they're like, oh, he went with the lieutenant and the colonel from the American side, and they were going to the place that we went yesterday. And I'm like, it's kind of like kicking the hornet's nest and then returning. Like, you just don't do that. So that was the loudest door ever.
Yeah.
So, so when I asked where Chris was, they're like, oh, he went with them because he didn't want them doing stuff with his battalion of Iraqis. I mean, we all watched out for our own soldiers, and it doesn't matter if you were, you know, Iraqi or not. They were our soldiers. And we treated them as such. I mean, our lives pretty much depended on them, and their life depended on us knowing what we were doing. So it was the oddest day altogether, because from that moment that I know that he went down there, I was like, all right, so backwards planning in the military is, like, I had to be here at 6 o'clock, you know, so I know, like, okay, I got to leave. I got to go here. So I start working back. This is going to take me 15 minutes. This is going to take me 40 minutes for travel. And then I know what time I got to leave. Therefore, I'm on time. So I started backwards planning, like, okay, he left at this time. So I'm like, okay, he should be coming back. So 6 o'clock at night, I started dragging the field and doing stuff. And they weren't back. They weren't coming back yet. And I was like, all right, they should be rolling in. Around 9 o'clock, we got word that they had, they got ambushed. So I immediately went to division, and I asked our colonel, I said, I need a truck and I need a 50 cal because they took both of ours. So I scrambled and got my battalion together, my company out of the battalion, and immediately started going and had to stand down. Wasn't allowed to roll out. They sent a QRF and some other things. I mean, it would have took me 6 hours to get there. Right. But So they started responding. Then we heard that another American got killed, another Iraqi got injured, another Iraqi got injured, and we started getting all this intel. And I had everything ready to go. By 5 a.m, we finally got to roll out. And when I got there around 11 o'clock, noonish, they wouldn't let me out of the truck, and that's when I knew Chris was killed. So, drive back. At that time, I mean, from there, pretty much a lot of stuff is a blur for me, because the realization of basically your friend just got murdered, and you lost your best friend, and everything. And I mean, we had friends that had been killed over there. I mean, don't get me wrong. We knew they were, they were on other teams. We knew people. Karpowitz died on Christmas up at Missoula in a DFAC bombing, suicide vest and a DFAC in the dining facility. So it's not like we didn't know like what war is. Like, we saw a lot of shit, but this is just something that was like so personal, so crazy, that now all of a sudden Chris's dad was Bill Dill. He was in Special Forces. He was a Buffalo firefighter. I had to talk to him and tell him, and then he made arrangements. So General Petraeus, there was no escorts out of theater, so I couldn't take him home officially until General Petraeus got involved. He was contacted, and then he sent his own helicopters to fly me and Chris to BIOP Baghdad International, and then from there to Kuwait, and then Kuwait to Philadelphia. And it was a crazy thing. Like, I loaded his casket up with like 15 other caskets with flags draped over them. So it's like, I had people going, well, you can't go to theater. I'd be like, you need to talk to this guy on the phone. And it's, General Petraeus' aide going, no, he's going. And then flying to Dover, Philadelphia, and then I drove to Dover. I got pulled over immediately leaving Philadelphia, doing like 90 in a Suburban down the middle of the road. I got pulled over, and the trooper handled it really well, because I mean, I was
Distraught.
basically, I was out of my mind at that point. Like, nothing was like, that's how I was driving in Iraq. Like, this is 12 hours difference. Like, what do you mean? And he's like, where are you going? And I'm like, my buddy just got killed. I'm going to Dover. And he escorted me the rest of the way to the state line, and then I went from there. But that whole process was insane, because as soon as I got down there, they're like, okay, we got a process, Chris, so go back to Philadelphia, go to this hotel, and you're going to stay there. And then 7 o'clock in the morning, they'd call me and be like, oh, he's not ready. And day 2, 7 o'clock in the morning, they call me, he's not ready. Day 3, not ready. Day 4, not ready. Day 5. So me being in a hotel room for 5 days was probably not the best thing.
That's the Army for you.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I'm hoping that they learned a lot of stuff, but yeah, that there had been a potential lot of problems with that. But I basically muddled through it. And then I basically escorted him home from Dover. So he's in uniform in the casket. I'm in uniform. We came home to Buffalo International Airport. So you can imagine every firefighter, every police officer, every military person, and then the community as a whole for that funeral. It was astronomical. It was crazy. He was, put in the back of the fire truck, the whole fireman's funeral procession, things like that. So it was kind of a week and a half of me being home, and then I pretty much told the Army, I was like, listen, I just send me anywhere else. I just don't want to go back to the same team and the same place, like down the hall. And they're like, I'm like, you can send me to Afghanistan, you can send me to everywhere. I'm like, I don't care. Like, send me. They're like, no. And so I went back to Iraq to finish out my tour. That was definitely an odd experience because, like I said, he drove, I gunned, he drove. Like, now there wasn't that. And there was 8 other dudes that, we're talking Buffalo and making Samoon pizza out of the Iraqi bread. And my dad's sending pizza sauce and pepperoni and mozzarella. And, these guys, Domino's is their best pizza, like, stuff like that. So it was kind of a really surreal experience. And then, now I come home and just had to go back to my job and go back to life. And it was kind of, there was no real nonprofits that helped out veterans at all. Like, it was it's just you're reintegrated. Like, really not. Like, there's I really don't care. Like, these people don't understand like half of this stuff, and like what they think is very important is really not, like, in the scheme of things.
Right.
Like, you're not getting shot at. Like, how does that should be a good day for you? Like, whatever. So after that, I started doing some work with a person, Jack O'Connor, and Harry and Judge Russell from Buffalo Veterans Court. They had this idea that they wanted to take a court. Right now, the way that court normally works is you got family matters, you go to family court. You got drug, you go to drug court. You go to alcohol court. And you got substance abuse issues, stuff like this, mental health courts. Well, they kind of inverted it, and they started asking who was in jail was a veteran. And then instead of sending them to different courts, they brought them all into one court. So I was one of the first mentors with Jack. He's like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? You're a police officer, kind of a social worker with a gun. Would you be interested? And I was like, yeah. Like, so we did that, and it took off. Like, there's a ton of veterans courts all throughout. But they needed money. They did things, and I joined like a VFW just, because one of my buddy's dads was in one, and I was like, yeah, I'll join. I'm like, it really wasn't for me. But when I did Veterans Court, I saw the need for money that they had, and I was like, oh, like, I wonder what I could do. And the VA at the same time, they had the Golden Age Games, and they had to raise money for that. It's like an Olympics for veterans 50 or and over, and they go all over the thing and all over the world, or U.S., whatever, and they send, like, if a veteran from Buffalo wants to compete in whatever, skeet shooting or golf or some other thing, they'll fly him. Like, they had him in Hawaii, they had him in Nashville, and they brought it to Buffalo. And it's like, it's an expensive thing. The government says it costs about $500,000. It's this huge production. They give you $250,000, and then the local community is expected to raise the rest of the money. So I was like, oh, well, basically, I said, I'll do a walk from point A to point B. I'll carry, some weight for, I knew Chris, and I was like, there's other people. So there was literally, at the time in 2012, there was 60 local soldiers that were killed in action since 9/11 from this area. So I went and I talked to some of my friends, and then I'm like, well, what am I going to carry? Like, I don't want to carry a phone book, like, a couple phone books to make weight. I go, I'll carry a pound per soldier. I go, I can carry 60 pounds, and I'll just go from point A to point B. I went out to the woods, and there was these tons of stones, and my mom brought a scale, and I quickly realized how dense and heavy rocks are, because I figured I'm going to carry like 60 rocks. So I picked up this one like the size of my hand, and it was like 4 pounds, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't going to work. So got some smaller rocks. I mean, they're still sizable. They're actually on display at the VA in the OAF office. Not that you can go there with COVID right now, but when it opens, they're on display. So I ended up carrying 60 rocks, and we wrote names on them. They're pretty much flat rocks, but we wrote names, Chris Dill and, Travis Craig and, Billy Wilson and Baker, and there's just a bunch of names that were local, and I didn't know any of these families. I didn't know anything. So I walked from Boston, New York to Orchard Park, New York. It was 13 miles. It was like 23 kilometers.
What road?
Well, actually, it was supposed to be 219, but the DOT wouldn't let me do it. So I ended up walking old 219. So there was a AMVETS. Yeah, well, that road sucks because it's Chestnut Ridge Road. When you get off of the old 219 there to go up towards Chestnut Ridge and get on to 277, the incline on that hill, like, you can touch the ground like in front of you when you're walking with the rucksack. You're leaning over and you can pretty much put your hand on the asphalt. Like, it took me 20 minutes just to walk up that road. Like, literally, like, probably a tenth of the mile. It was steep as hell. And I remember driving around that first night, my friend, Carrie goes, this is really long. And I'm like, thanks for mentally beating me up right now. Like, I know it's really long.
What do you think I've been looking at?
Yeah, I go, and I have to do this tomorrow, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Like, this is, like, really taxing on my brain now. Like, because I had been walking. Like, I just throw on a rucksack. I could walk forever. I hate running, but I can walk. I could walk home from here if I wanted to. I don't know, but I remember the news came out the next day, and the dude's like wearing me up. So I got the 60-pound ruck on. I'm walking, and you know how you got to get your breath and you get into a rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's literally hitting me on the first tenth of a mile. Like I'm on the radio go, and I'm like, dude, I don't even have my breath yet. And you're adding weight to me by making me carry this battery pack and other thing. Like, dude, I don't need more weight right now. So he did a good job though. But it took me 3.5 hours, I think it was. I brought my dog, and kept me motivated. I had police in front of me and back of me, so I didn't get smoked by somebody on the side of the road. And yeah, we ended up at a spaghetti dinner, and I raised $4,000. But that kind of led to it could be an annual thing. But I'm like, I'm not walking every year to raise $4,000. Like, screw this. I said, I'll turn this into a fun thing where people can do it. And then that kind of sparked like, well, what are they going to carry? And my thing is logistics. Like, okay, what do I got to do? So I said, well, we'll have them bring canned goods. So first one, fast forward, we ended up, we had 100 people and we raised 5,000 pounds of food. And the next year we had 200 people. And the following year after that, 300. And on average now we've been raising 25,000 pounds of food.
Wow.
On one afternoon. Third week of August, and people are like, why are you doing it in August? Like, it's hot. I go, because I'm a drill sergeant at heart, and I don't like people so much. Like, and they should experience what it's like to carry a rucksack with, heavy stuff. So, yeah, we've been doing that, and the way the Road March works is we have every name from New York State that was killed in action since 9/11. And we have them all along the route, and it's a 10K route at Chestnut Ridge Park. Chestnut Ridge is awesome. It's hilly. It's a great venue. And the Parks Department is great. And the signs span the entire thing, so you never lose sight of the sign. You go sign to sign to sign. And a ton of people do it. Like, you don't have to carry the food if you don't want to. You can donate ahead. But a lot of people are like, I never thought I could do a 10K. And, nobody's running it, like, especially late. But they're like, man, those signs, like, really motivated me. And before you knew it, I was done. And we, Imperial does the pizza and wings. Labatt's does the beer afterwards. It was a huge thing. Unfortunately, this year, couldn't do it, so we ended up doing a drive-through. We still put all the signs up, and I've met a ton of the Gold Star mothers, Gold Star families, and those are Gold Star families and moms they lost a loved one in theater and combat. They lost a son or a daughter. So I met a ton of them, and they're awesome people, and we do a food pantry for them. The food goes to Food Bank of Western New York, Gold Star Mothers, Chapter 77, and some of it goes to Buff State. So,
and that's known as KIA.
KIA Memorial Road March is what it morphed into. And what is funny is KIA Memorial Road March. Hindsight's 2020, I probably wouldn't have named it exactly that because people only think we do the Road March, and we don't. We do the Toast the Fallen in April, which is bands, basket, and booze. We normally have about 500 people. We have a ton of things going on with that. We got a ice luge for shots. We got all sorts. Of course, we couldn't do it last year, COVID. So we've been hurting for donations now. We also, last weekend, a year ago, so last weekend would have been our second one that we did. We did Masquerade and Moonshine. We did a Prohibition era. You dress up in Prohibition era, and we did a murder mystery.
Oh, sweet.
Dinner, and everybody, it was funny because everybody that came in, you got to meet this guy Bean in overalls, and then he brought you over to a hostess, and then it was a speakeasy. So we told you had to get a mugshot taken in case the police come. We just give them the mugshot, and you get to go home at night, but you got to do a donation. So we made this whole fun thing. So everybody got a picture of a mugshot, and
sweet.
we did it black and white. So it was just everybody had a really good time, and we do a lot of fun events at KI. We've done a kids race where they carried school supplies. We did night ops where they carried toys. We do that in September. Couldn't do that one. And then we give the toys out for Christmas. So we do a lot of stuff. So everything's on our website for that one if people want to look at donations or do some of our events.
And the website's what?
It's KIAMemorialMarch.com.
Okay.
So
have you done the KIA yet?
No. Yeah, tell them the experience.
First time I did it, my buddy was on block leave, and he's in 275th. So I was all jacked up because I'm like, I finally get to rock with my buddy. He's in Ranger Regiment. Like, this is going to be sweet. So I go to Tops, and I'm like, I'm going to pack my ruck with canned goods. I'm like, no problem. So I buy all this food, and I'm like, I'm going to donate it. Like, I'm such a good human. Pack my ruck, put it on the scale, and I'm like, it's 65 pounds. And I'm like, all right, like, it's fine. Like, and then the whole Army ego kicked in. It's like, I'm an infantryman. I can do this. Like, dismount reconnaissance. Like, this is easy. It's only 65 pounds. Like, it's not even in the woods. Like, it's on road. So he shows up, and he's in Ranger Regiment, and he's in phenomenal shape. Already has, like, 8 deployments under his belt. And he shows up with a 35-pound rock full of rice. And I'm like, what is that? Like, what's that? Like, I'm in the Guard. Like, it should be opposite. In the grand scheme of things. And he's like, yeah, but I'm not an idiot. And I'm like, that's the difference. Like, that's the difference between me and you.
Full disclosure, we hate people that bring just bags of rice. We can't distribute it.
And he bought like
they do,
like
right,
the 10-pound
because
bags
they
of
do
rice.
because it's easy to carry.
Yeah.
Right. So I end up giving those to food pantries just as blocks of rice. I'm like, here you go, make some soup, because I'm like, I can't, like, if you came in as a veteran, how pissed would you be if I just took a cup and be like, here's your cup of rice, because I got a 50-pound bag.
Yeah, it'd be the most Army thing in the world.
We tell people, though, if they want to bring rice, get the little 90-second microwavable bags. Just buy 100 of those, and you'll have a 100-pound ruck. Like, that's easy to distribute. So, yes, we tell people don't bring glass and don't bring that. We always get spaghetti sauce in jars, and those always break. And 50-pound bags of rice that I have to lug around. I'm like, oh, okay.
It's a great event, though, because it does give you something to train for, and then it just kind of, you can incorporate that event into your training regiment for the rest of the year and the training cycle that you're going through, especially leading up to a deployment.
And you could just do it and drink beer and pizza afterwards, and you'll hate yourself on Monday going, oh, I'm really sore. But it is, like you said, it is a good experience. It's a lot of good people, and we've never, as divisive as everything is right now, there's none of that at any of our events. Like, it's all like, oh, we want to help people, we want to do stuff, we want to have fun while we're doing it. And you talk to some of the moms, and they're like, you know what, this is cool because this is something that my kid would have done. Like, they want to have fun. It doesn't always need to be this solemn, sad thing. We do a 21 gun volley. We do sometimes we have a flyover. We have a band playing. Like, we do a whole ceremony in the beginning. So it's a good thing. And we've been doing it since 2013 was the very first public one. 2012 I did, and then so we've been doing it every year. This year people did it on their own. They did a virtual one. They did they walked and they donated food. So it's good. It's like Christmas morning for me. Like, I want to do it. Like, I want to have the event. So I'm hoping 2021 we can do a bunch of KI events.
Yeah, we'll do it together. It's a good time.
Absolutely.
We'll just throw a rock on you and walk around. There's bagpipes. There's
Perfect.
all the fun stuff.
Yeah, I'll fill it up with like a 50-pound bag of popcorn kernels
bring all
or
your
something.
gear in. You get the podcast as you're going.
Yeah, exactly. So KIA then spiraled into what your next endeavor would have been. So where did this come from? Like,
okay.
What in the world?
So I have a lot of ideas that pop in my head. With the one thing we didn't talk about with the road march was the challenges.
Oh yeah, you could be a part of a team and then further smoke yourself by not just doing a 10K, but there's stations. So it's like, man down, carry him and his shit over there. Time now, you're being timed.
Jesus.
Or you can pick up like 5 bowling balls and transport them from point A to point B. Or you can blindfold him, put him on your back, and then he has to make you navigate a maze, because you're blindfolded, and he's the one going no. And depending on how you carry people, it's like some people throw them over their back like a fireman's carry. So he's telling you, well, no, you're blindfolded, walking, carrying them.
Yeah.
And he'll be like, go left, but he's thinking his left, and you go your left. And then all of a sudden you're like, no. And then you do that with like 20 people in that maze, and it's this mess. Like, yeah, it's awesome.
That's so cool.
These all come out of my head. We call them the drill sergeant challenges. So I mean, we've had some. I got basically giant tubes that they use for like sewer lines and stuff like that.
That sucked.
That was awesome.
And
when it started raining, it was even better.
Yeah, it was the best thing in the world, but it was like a tough mutter.
Have you been to Chestnut Ridge?
Yeah.
All right, the sledding hill?
Yep.
All right, I put these tubes on the sledding hill, but it wasn't steep enough for me, so I jacked them up even more with pipe and I sling loaded them. So now they were like this. And then I sprayed them with Pam. So they were extremely slippery. And they were 20 feet long, which on average a human is, roughly 5 foot something. So the idea was that if it was us and one more person, we're all on average about 5 foot. We can't get up the tube, so he would have to lay down. I would have to climb over him, put my feet on his. Then you would have to climb over both of us, and then the last person would have to do it. And then they get to the top and they can throw a rope down. But I sprayed it with Pam and baby powder, so it was almost like you just got shake and baked because everybody's coming out of there like that. But it started downpouring so bad that nobody could get up, even with the people trying to climb, they would slide down. So we had to throw the rope in, and it was still incredibly hard. And yeah, I wear the MF verbiage like a badge of honor. Everybody that goes through there's like, motherfucker. Like, I'll take that MF all day long. That means I did a good job. So yeah, people are like, I'm 220 pounds. This is bullshit. I'm like, lose some weight. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, whatever, dude.
Yep. How tall are you? 6 foot? Perfect. You should no more be 178. Like, whatever the max is. Like, you're fat.
So, but everybody, it is a ton of fun. We come up with different challenges all the time, and we have Chris Dillhill. Like, for Chris Dillhill, it's called Mother to most people that run Chestnut Ridge, but we rename it Chris Dillhill. And the first one came from when me and him were drill sergeants. We would walk, and we walk like Big Bane, Baby Bane, these big hills at I think those were at Fort Knox. I'm not sure, whatever. They all got these huge hills. But we would go all the way to the top, and the privates would get up there, and we'd be like, we'd kind of be sucking wind. So we'd be like, all right, privates, go back to the bottom and go do a water point down there because the water buffalo would be down there. So we'd get all the way to the top, and then they'd have to go all the way down while we waited, and then they would come back up the hill. And then we'd be like, all right, let's go. And then they don't realize that they just did it twice and they're tired, and we only did it once. But so Chris Dill, the first year I did it, the challenge, you get a challenge coin for doing the whatever challenges. So people would go up there and they would get up and they would be like, all right, what's the challenge? And like, you gotta go back down to the bottom of the hill, get your challenge coin. They're like, son of a. So then they turn around and come back. The one year we did it where they had to put a dodgeball between their legs and they had to hop up the hill. Like, that was insane.
Smoked your calves.
Oh yeah, it totally did. Yeah, so we have a lot of fun doing those. So anyhow, though, that's part of the thing, and you can do them single, you can do them as a team. You can do whatever you want. And a lot of people do fundraising for their teams, and it's a really good event. So when you said how did this come into my head, a lot of those challenges wake me up at about when you're just starting to wake up and you're like, oh, I got to do this. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do bowling balls and a thing, and they're going to climb over a semi-trailer, and then they're going to do this. And I'm like, all right, I got to get on Facebook and see who's got bowling balls. And then, I find out, people start donating bowling balls, and we get enough for the challenge, and then we implement the challenge. So about 6 years ago, I was like, I want to do a drink because, and you'll relate, you got a bracelet on. How many times have you, what date? His name
For Coop, he passed November 5th.
So November 5th.
Yeah.
Walk me through a day in November 5th. Do you go to a cemetery? Do you have a drink? If he's not around here, do you pretty much...
I do a shot for him.
You do a shot for him. You leave him a shot, or you that is the 2% of the Army that, out of that 2%, the people that have lost somebody, every one of them does that. I've done it. Mm-hmm. Like, I go to the cemetery. I put a shot on his bench because he's in a mausoleum. I've done a shot. People have just showed up on his birthday. You normally do something. You'll do a shot. So everybody does these shots and to remember, a fallen comrade. So I'm like, I do Jack, or I'll do Jim Beam, or because he was Irish, I would do Jameson. I'd be like, well, I want my own. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure other people want something that basically this comes with the medallion on it, and you can customize the medallion. So I made like the very first bottle off the assembly line is Chris Dill's bottle. Like, it'll never be opened, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to open another bottle and do shots with them. But this one's going to sit on the shelf with his name on it because this is Chris's bottle. And I kept one and I kept 13. And the reason 13, so for 13 Monkeys, when I started thinking of this, like, what am I going to name it? I did learn a lot from KA. Like I said, KA Memorial Road March. Everybody just thinks we do a road march. Mm-hmm. So it's like, all right, like, well, what can I call this? 4405. Chris died on April 4th, 2005. Adds up to 13. He was married on the 13th. My name's Jason. Friday the 13th has been friggin' a thing in my life. Jason, Friday the 13th, whatever. My lacrosse number was 13. Oh, it's bad luck to have the number. Only if you get hit by me. Like, I'm like, there's a ton of things. Like, I just, whatever. Chris like to gamble. He would always go to like Vegas stuff. I'm not a huge gambler, but on his anniversary, I'll go to the casino. I'll play roulette. I've won more times on 13. I literally hit twice 13 on roulette back to back.
Wow.
And I'm like, thank you, and I'm out. I live with my $600, and I'm like, I'm out. Thanks, Chris. Other times he doesn't let me win, and I MF him. I'm like, fuck, dude, I'm broke. Like, can you, I just spent my last $20 on this shit, and you made me hit the ATM, which I said I would never do. But it all kind of came together, and there's a whole story on the side of there's that door again.
I know.
It's the creepiest Halloween door.
It is.
We need some WD-40. So there's a story on the side. I don't know. Did you read it?
So, but our viewers have no clue about anything.
Okay.
So treat everything like we're on Mars.
Okay. So basically, I made this thing Drink to Honor, and like I said, I learned a lot of stuff from KIA of, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into something. So I'm like, I wanted to do a whiskey. I wanted to do something, that a lot of people would be able to just do a drink, do a shot, drink it neat, just something to honor. So I came up with this 13 Monkeys logo, and it's a pretty cool logo. It's got, and this is where people will be like, oh, well, that's a gorilla. It is. He's the leader of the 13 Monkeys, so I don't really care. But 13 Monkeys, people are like, oh, is that movie? I go, no, that was 12 Monkeys, and that sucked, unlike this whiskey, which is good. But the whole patch, the whole thing on there, the shield or patch gives credence to military, police, firefighters, and any emergency personnel that have ever worn a patch. 13 stars configured, 4 on the left, 4 on the right, and 5 in the middle in the shape of the Pentagon is inspired by Sergeant Major Driscoll's best friend and battle buddy, Christopher Dill, a fellow drill sergeant who was killed in action on 4/4/05, which adds up to 13. When connected, the 13 stars make one Army chevron. So the chevron is part of our rank. All right. Makes one Army chevron, the rank of private, which reflects that no one starts out at the top, not even generals or sergeants major. The number 13 in the background represents the 13 in roulette, so let it ride. 12 is the dirty dozen. 13 Monkeys, that's just chaos. Drink to honor, drink to pay respect, and drink responsibly.
Nice.
So for all the grammar Nazis out there, a lot of people go, well, it says sergeants major. That is the plural for it's not sergeant majors. It's sergeants major. So it is correct for any grammar Nazis. They want, it's messed up.
I take it that's a kind of a trigger point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as walking on the grass. You just.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And everybody at my level, you leave it be and like roger that. And
I don't know why it is either, but it is. It's just
And the Sergeant Major Academy you have to go to and you have to graduate to now wear the rank. And it's literally like one of the only places in the entire Army that has grass.
4 Plus.
Yeah.
In Texas.
Like everything in Fort Bliss is sand, desert, like it's 113 degrees
Except
at
for
all
Sergeant Major's
times.
Academy.
And then you go to Sergeant Major Academy, it's like perfect green grass. It's just, it's
awesome.
a riot.
That's cool that it makes a chevron too. I didn't know that.
So yeah, it makes
That's
the rank of private. And it's got the Pentagon in there, which does the whole, the tribute to 9/11, everything like that. But yeah, so that 13 Monkeys it's a 5-year bourbon mash. It's good in a lot of things. It's good as a Manhattan. It's good neat. It's good. We do a couple things with it, and
Is the mash bill classified?
yes.
Okay.
It's a 5-year bourbon mash. Okay, so we know at least 51% corn.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. It was made in a different barrel outside of the original barrel. So that's another thing, because a bourbon can only be in one barrel.
Yep.
So this one is.
It's different?
Yeah. So you're gonna get some.
Should we try it?
Would you like to try it?
I would love to.
Yeah.
Do you want ice? Because I did bring ice.
No, I'm good.
So I will tell you that these you can buy.
Oh, that's sweet.
The other thing that, I almost forgot. The entire product is made in the USA.
Oh, nice.
Everything. The label, the bottle, the medallion,
The liquid.
the UPC, the liquid.
So why did you decide to go with
Do not call it a Mason.
I'm not
moonshine jar, because I had somebody on social media call it. They go, "What is it?" And somebody replied. It wasn't my post either. It wasn't on there. But they go like this: like, "It's a whiskey. It's a bourbon." Well, it shouldn't be in a moonshiner jar. So I immediately commented on there. I go, there's no such thing as a moonshine jar.
Right.
First of all, they were canning jars that their grandmothers used to have in the kitchen, and they used to put them in there. Why? Because they were free. Like, I'm like, dude, if you're going to come at me, then come at me.
Right.
But realistically, there is a reason that it is like this, and that's classified, but I will tell you offline of what the next iteration is going to be and
cool.
why it's like this. So,
Roger that. So for
people that do buy it, and you
Yeah.
can buy it at Eddie's, and you can go to Neat because it's also on their menu there, which is right down. We're in 13 liquor stores and 13. Get it? And we're in a bunch of bars.
no more expansion, all right? It has to stop at 13.
I don't know. I'm probably gonna waive that rule. You know, we might do a Frago on that one.
Yeah,
just have it. But you can get these lids. No, I don't know where these lids are made, but I got them on Amazon. But
Wuhan.
the product itself is all American made, including the medallion. And it's not some Chinese, tchotchke thing. It's got some weight to it, and they're
nice.
locally made. So the engraving, everything helps out local businesses too.
So you go to the website 13 Monkeys, and that's where you can customize them.
Yep. So you go on there. It's got a customizable interactive medallion with a bottle, and then what happens is they'll mail this one back, and then we will send you a new one, and then these ones get repurposed on bottles for the liquor stores.
Okay.
So here
That's so cool.
So here.
you go. I'm actually gonna.
I'm very excited for this. Because we've been talking for months and months.
Right.
Before the labeling got approved.
Yes.
Trying to get you on, and you're like, hold on.
And then COVID.
And then COVID hit, but you're like, hold on, I'm going to hell and back trying to get this damn label approved. And I was like, okay, no problem. And then it finally got approved, and now we're here. So this is many months coming.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for this.
It's definitely.
So it's 80 proof too.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
So go ahead.
Oh, man.
Do I have to do anything special with this lid, or does it just pour out?
No, it'll just pour out.
Look at that.
You're shaking it
Look
a bit,
at that,
man.
dude.
It's
This
a
is
nice
sweet.
light color. Yeah, go ahead, pour mine, because I'd probably drop it all over the table. Like a nymph.
Jeez.
Thick pours.
hand.
Oh yeah. Well, cheers.
All right, cheers. And portion of the proceeds go to KA. So it kind of came
do
full
that.
circle.
Nice.
And then I do got to talk about full circle with Chris when I actually met him.
Oh, yeah.
This is a high corn mash bill.
Yes, it
Telling
is.
you right now.
Yes, it is.
This is good though. I like high corn.
It's a very, very light burn. And it's a lower hug, which makes me happy because a lot of Kentucky's up front, and then it's a very higher hug, and this is a lower hug. I like this a lot.
Even the flavor profile isn't typical for a Kentucky.
No, and I can't.
It's got some buffalo in it.
There's some,
Yeah.
it's oily, but it's not an overpower oil, but it makes you salivate. It's very similar to like a Buffalo Trace experience.
Yeah.
Where Buffalo Trace is oily and then it'll make you salivate and then you want more. This is good.
So
I love the smell.
Yeah, oh yeah. Is
Very
this your
sweet.
preferred type of bourbon that you like?
So I generally have always been Jack, and then Jack just got too expensive when I was in college, so I just migrated to Jim Beam just because it became cheaper. But so I've never been a neat or on the rocks. I've always done some kind of mixture. So, I really didn't have I don't want to say the
foresight.
yeah, like just as a kid, like I'm drinking to get drunk. You know what I mean? It's not about flavor. It's not about this. Like you can crush like Busch beer, or you could drink a really high quality beer and you're not going to go through a 24 pack. So with this, like I really don't have to mix it with anything. Like normally I'm in a light one too, like ginger ale. Like I would do something at a bar, and it's just to mix it up a little bit. But
yeah, like a
this
Jameson
one,
and ginger.
yeah.
Yeah.
But this one, I probably need. I've been putting money in an envelope for the bottles that I've been consuming, just because. Because I'm like I've gone through. Now I will tell you this, and I thought it was a fluke. So the very first night in Kentucky, so I got the bottles off the line, and then we tried it on the line just to make sure everything's good, and then I brought it back. We were at the hotel, and we did a Facebook Live thing. My buddy Mike did Whiskey Wednesday, and it just happened that we got these on Wednesday, and we went and bought a bunch of stuff to just mix it with because we wanted to see what it's going to go good with. Like, we liked it like it was. So, first thing, boom, just did a shot. Like, all right, this is good. Like, this, I've been waiting years for this. Like, no, all of a sudden I'm like, boom. So, and we only did an hour, like, little Facebook Live. Then we mixed it with a couple things. Ginger ale. We mixed it with cherry Coke. It was awful with cherry Coke. I didn't like it. I didn't really even like it with like a Jack and Coke, with a Coke. I didn't like it. It was almost too syrupy. It was just, it was very, I didn't like the way it came out. And and then I did it with ginger ale. I'm like, oh, this is great. Well, then as a joke, we mixed it with root beer. I'm telling you, I don't know if it does something with the root beer or if the root beer does something with the whiskey, but you guys can try it off, whatever. Just, we call it the bomb. We call it monkey beer. So then monkey beer turned into the bomb. Because we're like, oh, this bomb, it's Buffalo's own monkey beer. Nice. So it's like, if we can do it. And so people that don't normally like a whiskey, I would say just try it, because 9 out of 10 people so far have been like, well, the 10th person, I don't like root beer and I don't like whiskey, so it's just a loser. They're like, yeah,
really.
Right. Like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, like,
why are you outside?
Go drink your vodka. I don't know.
Yeah.
Your cream de mint vodka. I don't know. So, but everybody else was like, oh my God, that's, like, it's dangerous because you get no bite, you get no anything, and you'd be like 3 into it going, someone give me an Uber, please. I'm going to keep drinking this.
This is very good. It's very light, too.
It is
like
very
the color
light.
of it.
Yeah.
So monkey beer, root beer in this.
Yeah, and then some, and I'll tell you how, I appreciate your guys' opinions, but the 2 opinions that I got, I have 2 Italian. I have an Italian uncle and an Italian cousin. They're older than me. They both drink Manhattans.
Sure.
And separately, I gave them some, and they made a Manhattan out of it right off the bat, and then they went back for a second glass. 2 old Italian guys, if they didn't like it, would have just threw it in the garbage, and I would have been like, oh, dude, I'm done. But they went back for a second glass. I'm like, yes,
That's
I'm
a
in.
stamp of approval.
So,
nice.
So now Neat actually has the Monkey Manhattan.
Oh, cool.
So you can get it there. Yeah, they do a nice little Manhattan there. And, yeah, so cheers.
Cheers,
it's been a long time coming.
This is great. Congratulations on this.
Honestly, congrats. and thank you for everything that you do for the community as well, because it's a lot of stuff that most people don't even know.
Yeah.
So,
and the thing is like in the bars, and Addie's is doing it, and a lot of people are looking at the medallion and they're buying it, for Christmas gifts and weddings and everything else. So that's where I kind of learned, like, this isn't only going to be a military thing. Like, people are going to buy this for a retirement or a birthday or whatever. And the hopes is that, if you didn't know about it and he bought you a bottle and it's got your name on it, happy birthday, you would drink it and be like, oh, and then hopefully the next time you have something, you go to a wedding or you go like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm going to go buy a bottle from Addie's and customize it. And, I had some lady that already bought 4 and did Merry Christmas. Like,
wow.
I would have showed up on the 23rd going, damn it, I gotta customize this now. I would have just gave it to you, but like, hey, Derek, Mike, here's your gift. Go customize it. Like, happy birthday, Merry Christmas.
Right.
So yeah, you might have to have some forethought if you're going to get it, get it enough time that we can get it engraved for you.
So what's the lead time on the engraving?
Right now, usually, because they have to mail it back. They will get made quick, but we're not mailing back until we receive this one back. So, if you procrastinate and take a month to mail it back to me, lead time is going to be a month. If you do it within a week, you'll probably have it within a week.
Okay.
So it's fairly quick, but that also depends on
what you're getting done.
If a ton of people come in here and buy more bottles and I'll send them in at once, we'll get them done as quickly as possible. But definitely if you come in tomorrow at the latest for your Christmas gift. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, come in. We'll have them in time for Christmas, and some birthdays. And, we just ask people. But you can always just give them to somebody and say, hey, go on and customize, put whatever you want on it. Here's your Christmas gift. And it's like, that's the thing. Like, if you gave me a bottle of this for your wedding instead of a pair of socks and a bow tie that I'm never going to wear, I would be like, dude, you're the best. Like, this is the best wedding ever. So, if I was one of the wedding party, like, I think that's a phenomenal gift for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
it's at Eddie's. What other liquor stores in the area are they at?
Everything's on the website.
Okay.
So 13monkeys.com. There's on the rocks. There's Canal Side. There's all the globals.
Sure.
All 3 of the globals. The one out, I just got one out in Niagara County. Well, Canal Side's in Niagara County, but far north, there's another one. I can't remember the name of some of them. Wright's Corners, but
it's on the website. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a ton of them. It's in Neat. It's in Gordy's. It's in Prohibition. It's in East Eden Tavern. It's on 500 Pearl at the Rooftop Bar.
Oh, nice.
It's at, and if bars, they want it, let me know. I'm my own distributor, so you don't have to wait. I know that there's some concerns with some bars that if they open new, they only get a select thing. Call me. I'll deliver it. And
You know the guy.
yeah, it's me. I'm the stock boy, the delivery, the bottler, the everything. And I have no problem with it. I retired. I'm looking to retire out of the military soon.
Yeah, what's your time frame?
They're saying probably retirement's it's a process, not an event. So probably
I just thought you dropped that packet and showed that BDE.
No.
No?
No, they're like no.
Damn. Why is it? Is it because of your rank?
No, just the Army. I mean, they're legitly. That's what they say. This is a process, not an event. Like you're not just gonna drop your stuff and be like, yeah, you're retired. No, like you gotta go through it. It's got to go through all the chains and all this stuff, and whatever.
It's like a demob to retire.
Yeah, like after a while, I'm just like, and it's time for me to retire because, like I said, there's a lot of things that I can't change. I can't fight the machine, and you see people like. In my day, you wore your field jacket. You had to have your gloves. You didn't have to have them on, but you better have your gloves. Now it's like this dude's wearing gloves. This dude's got a field jacket from like 3 uniforms ago. This one's got a brand new one with pockets I've never seen before. I don't know who to yell at anymore. It sucks. Mm-hmm. Like I can't be like, shine your boots. It's just suede. Like it's nonsense. There's just a lot of lack of discipline, lack of, just pride, I guess, because it's, our uniforms look like they're pajamas. Like you don't have to iron them. Like we used to starch our stuff. We used to have creases, which going back to the Army thing, leading to Chris, this is the funniest thing was at the funeral, my aunt, so my mom had a sister, Michelle. So it was my mom, Marta, and my Aunt Michelle. 2 sisters. My Aunt Michelle was younger. My Aunt Michelle used to babysit me when my mom would go to work or go out or whatever. And at the funeral, my Aunt Michelle was talking to Marcia, Chris's mom, and like pretty involved and conversation, not just like this or that. And they're like, hey, come here. They're like, yeah, when I used to babysit you, I knew Marcia, and Chris was 1, I was 2. They used to throw us in the same crib because they were friends. So I knew Chris pretty much my whole life, which was just full circle. Like that was kind of weird.
So that's when you met Chris?
Yeah, when I was 1, 2, like not in drill sergeant school. So, it's just kind of weird.
That's crazy.
So that's what this is for. And I hope everybody, like I said, I hope Buffalo latches onto it. Mm-hmm. I hope they, they want to try it. They want to drink it. And, if I can get, Josh Allen to promote the bomb, I'm just saying, throwing it out there. Like,
right.
We'll tag him in the post.
Yeah. Like,
it'll go viral.
We'll see
the
what happens.
Bomb and you drink it and throw a bomb. And
to be fair, there is one Bills player that literally just comments on every video we post or post in general that he just says Bills Mafia.
Yeah.
That's all he says.
Well, now he can't
It's
say
the
that
start.
unless he says it's trademarked.
Yeah.
True. That's true.
So, but if he wants to, hey, let me know. Anybody
There
who wants
you
to
go.
try this, I'm up for a sponsor. Like, knock yourself out. You want to drink? I'll give you a 13 Monkeys. I'd reach out to Kid Rock, but
Right.
yeah, he's got Jim Beam.
Yeah. He might be a little busy.
Well, thank you so much, man, for coming
Yeah,
on. We
no.
really appreciate it. Thank you for telling your story, opening up, making this amazing whiskey. So everybody, go to your liquor store, go online, 13monkeys.com, and see if you can find it in your area. And definitely pick up a, what do you call this, a bottle still?
Yeah, it's just a bottle.
Sure. Go pick up a bottle and let us know what you think. So thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Glad you enjoyed it.
Always.